Welcome to HiveMind. This is Edge with my co-host Speaker. Hey, Speaker. How's it going?
I'm good. How you going? I'm sure all the listeners have missed your voice. They've been hearing me straight for like a week. They're probably
I
sick of
know.
it.
I'm glad to be back. I needed some time. I was burnt out. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to see everybody again, and glad to host another show with you. So I'm doing better. I have to be honest. I had to process a lot of emotions and thoughts this week. We've been through so much. It's been a crazy week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I've been trying to just drown myself in work,
Yeah, you've been killing it lately. So,
trying to distract myself.
yeah. And that's part of what was so frustrating for me is I was really at a standstill with this, mass migration from Twitter over to Gab, and then Gab really working hard to scale up, but in the process, it's really bottlenecking over there right now. So,
Yeah.
slowing everything down. And that was part of my frustration too, because I do rely heavily on that you know, to feel like I am participating, am helping in some way, and that just kind of relieves that feeling I have. I don't want to feel helpless. I want to feel like I'm doing something that matters and helps. And when that's taken from me, that's where my frustration was coming from. Um, so, but with this DC protest and on the 6th, and the certification of Biden in the middle of the night, and this Twitter purge, um, emotions have just been really high among many of us, millions of us, really.
Yeah, I think the collective consciousness at the moment is there's a lot going on. People are in different stages. People think different things and have different hopes, and that's something that we think this would be a good conversation because some of us are all on the different levels of this at the moment.
Yeah, everybody has to process it their own way. And I think it's pretty easy right now for people to come black-pilled. And that's why I think it's a good conversation for us to have. In fact, I have to admit it myself. Been some real negative emotions that I've been processing overall through all this. But so I think we should just maybe start from the beginning and break down what these different pills mean. And then towards the end, maybe we can talk about our own journeys and what we're going through currently um, in this process. So, why don't we start with the blue pill, what it means to be blue pilled? What do you think it means?
Take it away. It means being asleep. Blissfully ignorance is a good way that they describe it of the world around them, the things that are going around. Pretty much living your life, but in a state of kind of zombification.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. I think it's also just having a naivety about the world, meaning you take everything for face value, whatever the media is telling you, whatever your elected officials are telling you, whatever the three-letter agencies are telling you. You take those things as face value without ever having any kind of critical thinking or skepticism, like, hey, maybe they're lying to me, or maybe they're not telling me the full story. And so I think a lot of people are still blue pilled. And after 2020, everything the world has been throughout 2020 and the beginning of 2021, it's really hard for me to comprehend why so many millions of people are still in that state of mind. Isn't it hard to comprehend that at this point?
I think for us, because we spend most of our days looking at these things, analyzing these things, breaking them down, picking them apart. It's just what we do, and we've it took a long journey for us to come here, but I think it gets to a stage where certain people go through certain things in their life and they want to learn more about the world, and then they start finding these sort of things. Those that are still blue pilled, I've noticed a very routine orientated. It's like work, home, Netflix, pay the bills, do what you have to do, rinse and repeat. Like you said,
Right.
it no,
I
no
get
one
that.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. But see, with 2020 and also the beginning of 2021, everyone's routine has been disrupted. Practically everyone's routine has, anyways. And so it's really forced those people to start questioning, or in my mind at least, presented that opportunity to start questioning why is all of this happening? And are there maybe other reasons than what they're telling us? And it surprises me that there's still a vast amount of people that don't want to acknowledge that. I mean, that we're really at war. It's the establishment, the globalists, the technocrats, the communists, the corrupt deep state. I mean, they are at war with we, the people. And I feel like that reality has been shoved in our faces this year to the point where even people who were just really involved in their day-to-day life, they're now forced to take a look at these issues that they really didn't give give much time, thinking about.
what I've noticed lately, the globalists, they're not just at war with us, but it seems like they actually might be starting to war with themselves. And that's dangerous in itself. I mean, we saw Merkel the other day call out big tech. Uh, we saw the French Prime Minister also do the same. And I think with that, that is like another undercurrent, like kind of war going on between themselves. I think they've kind of realized now that big tech is an American, globalist like entity. They control it, and that's dangerous for the rest. That's just my observation of the last couple of days.
Well, I've definitely observed that too. There's all of these players that are vying for power, and what they see is an emerging vacuum, and there's no loyalty among these thieves, so they will stab each other in the back in order to, work their way up the ranks in um, this competition for who's going to take power. But they do actually all have the same agenda,
They have the same
really:
agenda, yes.
global dominance and tyranny. And I think that really, for those who are still blue pilled, in the face of all of these things that have been just so blatant over the course of the last year, I think a lot of the people who are still blue pilled, it's because of a cognitive dissonance. And I've seen this with people in my own lives who just were not ready to accept the reality of things because if they have to admit that they don't want to admit they're wrong, first of all. It's hard for some people to really face that they have been wrong for a very long time. And then it's also hard to, once you acknowledge that you've been lied to, uh, but in one area, then you have to acknowledge that you've been lied to about other things as well. And it really just kind of snowballs to the point where it's like too much. It's overload. I don't want to accept that my entire reality is a lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very comfortable to be blue pilled. It's very comfortable to be oblivious to the real world. It's very easy to stay in the matrix.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I look back to my life prior to doing these things, and I'm like, damn, I didn't really have any problems or anything. I was just going about my day. I was doing my thing. I didn't look at things too deeply or too much, even though I always had an inkling that something was wrong. Uh,
Yeah, it was a lot simpler back then.
mm, can't go back though. That's the thing, and that's exactly the same concept in the movie. Once Neo takes the red pill, there isn't going back. He gives him the ultimatum at the start.
Yeah, so that's a good transition. Let's talk about the red pill. And I think anybody who watches this channel, they're either red pilled or in the process of that. So, what's the red pill?
The red pill is waking up to the illusion, breaking the illusion that you have been living in, seeing the world for what it is, seeing the corruption for what it is, seeing people for what they are. There's definitely another one. I mean, when prior to this, I thought a lot of people thought the same as me, and you know, we had disagreements and stuff, but I thought at the core, most people thought what I thought. I didn't realize that, some people are psychopaths, some people are narcissists, some people want to see the world burn, some people have different agendas, some people think very differently.
Yeah, that's a hard reality to accept once you've encountered people like that.
Hmm.
I think it is a process of awakening, and it's not just one pill. You know, I think it's like incremental. It's like one of those slow release pills because once you take the red pill, you're still constantly in a process of learning and accepting new information.
Hmm.
It's really just I think the red pill is basically this ability now to critically think and not take things at face value and say what's really going on here, what's the real agenda, is this person or this entity that's presenting this information to me actually trustworthy? I mean, it's just going through that process, but it is realizing that a lot of these institutions and people that we've been led to trust the most have been misleading us and are corrupted.
Hmm.
And it's
Uh,
also understanding that the media has been feeding us lies. Our institutions like schools have been indoctrinating, and just realizing that a lot of these quote unquote conspiracy theories keep turning out to be true. So,
also with that though, I actually heard a really good saying the other day, and I've started saying it by a guy called Michael Malice. And if you don't know him, he's really, really good, really smart dude, writes a lot of books. Uh, got famous for his investigations in North Korea, but really, really smart guy. Uh, he said something on the show the other day, and yeah, it really stuck with me. He said, "Always make sure you only take one red pill, never take the bottle." Right?
right.
And I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, it's a really good analogy because the red pill can also go the opposite way if you take too many of them, and you go down this real, real deep hole where you can get to a stage where there is things that are not even based in reality that you're you're siding with now, or that you're believing, right? I think there is like there's a limit to like how much you can do before you start tipping the scales on the other side.
Right. People will go so far as to say, if all of these people and institutions over all of this time have been withholding information, lying to the people, and indoctrinating the people, then they start believing much every conspiracy theory out there instead of having that critical thinking to say, okay, this has more basis in fact, and this one's really really in
Complete fantasy.
theory. Yeah, and yeah, no proof or evidence to support it. And those are fun to entertain sometimes. Like I've been down those rabbit holes, all kinds of them, and they're fun to kind of entertain and stuff, but you have to categorize these things in as far as their um, basis in reality, basis in fact, and supporting evidence and things like that, right?
100%, 100%. And I hate when I kind of notice people going too far the other way because I'm like, no, come back. But it can happen, and like I definitely warn people about that too. So I've stolen that saying from him now. I use it all the time.
Yeah, and a lot of times also is that once you start going too far down the rabbit hole, then you start feeling not only that you can't relate to a lot of people, but that um, there's a sense of hopelessness. Like it's so overwhelming, nothing can be done. And this might be a good segue to talk about the black pill because we've all been there. At least I know I have, even this week. I mean, this week's really been a roller coaster ride of emotions for me. So, yeah, and so I've been in that of mind, and so maybe we should talk about that, what the black pill is.
Yeah, that is the complete opposite of the red pill. It's hopelessness. It's complete abyss. It's nihilism is probably the best way I could describe it.
hmm it's based in reality. It's like you're aware. You've been red pilled. You're aware of of all the lies, of all the corruption, of all the evil in the world and the plots against humanity. But your point of view, your perspective is very pessimistic and, as you just said, nihilistic, no hope for change to the corrupt system. And also this attitude of whenever new people are awakening, this attitude towards them of, see, I told you so, right? Instead of more of a trying to help people, and being just in essence being part of the problem instead of part of the solution, in my opinion. What do you think?
It's a low place. It's a low place. We've all, well, a lot of us have been there when certain things don't come to pass, or yeah, something you were hoping for didn't happen. It does crush you, and for some people, it can really put them on a really big downward spiral, into a spiral of, uh, I would say, drug abuse, alcoholism. It can really push people that far down the hole.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that this year has been an awakening for many, many people, because again, as we've mentioned, all the things that forced people out of their day-to-day routines, and made them look at what's going on in the world and made them take a stance and start critically thinking, why is all of this really happening? But a lot of them have had so much to deal with so rapidly. um, Not a slow process of awakening, a really fast one, and a really negative one, to the point where I do think that a lot of people have been black pilled and have used other ways to kind of numb that pain and that anger that they're feeling, like you'd mentioned with, drugs and alcohol and other ways of escaping. So I think that a lot of people are in that boat, and, I'm hurting for them, but I can also relate because I've been there. I've been there. Like, and we'll talk about our processes, our personal processes. But so what's the white pill? If there's a black pill, there has to be a white pill. What is the white pill?
Yeah, the white pill. As soon as I can get this window up, you have to bear with me. Um, the white pill is being uh, completely aware of a difficult situation or position, and having an attitude that it that might happen, this might happen, but I can't let it break me. I can't let it stop me from doing what I'm doing. I can't let it stop me growing. I can't let my world stop over something that, I have no control over.
Yeah, I think that's a good description. Being realistic, understanding the evil that we're facing, the corruption, but also being optimistic,
Yep.
having some kind of hope for changing the system, for changing the corruption. I also think it's a level of humility too. It's an approach as opposed to saying like I told you so to people that are newly awakening. It's more of this approach of understanding that everybody's waking up in their own time and in their own way, and really trying to help and comfort others who are going through various different levels in this process, because we all are. I mean, this is a gigantic worldwide social experiment, what we're going through, this transition that everybody's going through in awakening and realizing what we're up against, right?
Yeah, it's a difficult time. I don't think anyone alive today has been through a shift that we're seeing now. I mean, wars and stuff did that. Vietnam probably, so yeah, probably still some. But what we're seeing now is a huge turning point for the human consciousness, and for for people that are aware. We can. There's some really dark paths we can go down here, and some really, and optimistic paths. So yeah, it's I'm definitely on the white pill at the moment.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I am right now.
You have right now.
I couldn't have said that earlier this week,
Mm.
as you know. Um, yeah, but when you let's talk about a couple more pills, and then we'll get into like our personal uh, roller coaster ride, actually, for me, but our personal experiences. So you had mentioned purple pill and pink pill, and I was not familiar with these, so I'm going to let you
Well,
take it away.
uh, these are new modern concepts of pills, and I thought they were interesting. So I thought we should throw something, obscure into the mix. So the purple pill kind of relates to very much the new age. A lot of things that we're seeing now, a lot of people that push, meditation, astral travel, stuff like that, contact with, you know, different alien species, stuff like that. Purple pill will kind of fit into that category. So it is more of a spirituality based uh, escape. So you kind of avoid the trauma that a red pill can cause, and you're just in this kind of a constant state of bliss,
Right.
which we see with a lot of new ages now. I mean, you go to a new age channel at the moment, and I know a couple of them. I follow a couple of them because I find them because I like them. Uh, but they're always just like incredibly they always just seem somehow always happy. It's like, okay, and I don't know where you are, right? But it seems to be working for you.
Well, would you say that the purple pill is based in reality, or is it more of an escapism from reality?
It's a good way to put it. I think there's certain things from a purple pill aspect that can be useful, but I think exactly the same as the red pill. Only take one, don't take the whole bottle.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's elements of it that you can take take and use. Like, for example, we've talked about in that whole podcast that we did on vibrations, frequency, energy, Tesla. There's a lot of basis and fact and science in that, and useful information in that when you know that and you apply it to your personal life. And so I do think there's certain elements of this type of mindset that are beneficial. But like you'd said, going too far,
Yeah,
the more you go down that rabbit hole, the further and further away you get from reality sometimes, right?
yeah. Um, I do think there is like a good positive, a higher state of consciousness, a way to enlightenment. All those things are not necessarily bad, but there is a point of, it can be, extreme escapism, just kind of like, when you dive into a video game or when you get lost in certain things like that. Definitely. I like the description of it though, the red pill or the blue pill. Morpheus when he asked Neo. And Neo didn't ask him if there was another choice, so Morpheus kept the purple pill in his pocket. I just thought it was. I just thought that's like a fascinating behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, that is funny. So, what's the pink pill though?
Pink pills are, I think, is a very narcissistic pill that we see a lot. That there's two ways you can describe it. It's the ideology of attractiveness, and I think we're seeing that a lot now, where someone's whole world is based upon how they look,
Okay,
how they look to society, and they worship that among anything else. I mean, just go on Instagram. Do you know what I mean?
right. Right. So it's just pink pill is like a subsection of a blue pill, basically, right?
Um,
Because
yeah.
it's people that are really superficial, not interested in having the critical thinking or understanding of what's really going on in the world, but just caught up in the the way things appear and making sure that they appear a certain way. They project a certain image.
hmm Uh, to the point where that image is their financial income, it is everything. It is that they rely on the way they look.
Yeah, does it amaze you that there's so many millions and millions of people out there that are blue pilled slash pink pilled still?
Yeah, heaps, heaps. There is another terminology for pink pill, and it kind of works into the fetishes community, and that is when uh, guys want to transition to girls, and I think that's prevalent too, considering we're in this transgender agenda sort of time frame where a guy would take a pink pill and become a girl. So that's another underlining
Definition.
definition of it, which I
All
also,
right.
I think it's important to, because there's a lot of people that you see doing that now, whether it's from massive indoctrination, whether from growing up with parents that have pushed you to that sort of a way and have forced that upon you.
Yeah, and we talked about that in depth in our reviews of those two documentaries that we did. When it was about a month or so ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was about a month ago.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we analyzed, so there's a lot of factors at play that are pushing that agenda. Like you just said, from the
hmm
media to uh, parents who have been indoctrinated, to institutions that are doing the indoctrination, and then also into the medical industry who's pushing it for their own financial gain,
hmm
to really profit from that niche and grow it. So it's pretty sinister when you look at it, and you
Yeah,
think about it that way.
definitely. Both definitions are very sad.
Yeah, so I think we should take a step back and talk about our personal journeys and maybe different phases that we were taking a different pill and, where we're at now. So you go first.
Do you want me to start? Which one? Right? Which
Talk
pill do you
about,
want me to start on?
well, talk about your time, like do a timeline. Like first I was this, and then I moved on and was that.
Oh, my blue pilled life is very explanatory. I was just doing my thing. I was doing my thing in the world. I thought uh, more about myself, I think, than other people. or the world around me. And I was like, how can, I just strictly make my life better and more comfier? I think comfier has a lot to play with Blue Pill. And I was, like most people, I wanted comfort. I wanted enough to make my life secure and easier. And I wouldn't look at things that would make my life harder.
And then what happened?
And then I went through a relationship with a psychopath, and I could, and I got forced to take this pill and look at the world for what it really was, and to realize that there was people out there that were sinister and were evil, and their intentions was very, uh, very sinister, very malevolent towards me and towards other people as well. And then I started to look at politicians and lawyers and things like that in the world, and I started to put together a blueprint of what this world actually was. And then I got forced to take the red pill. I didn't choose to take the red pill, I got forced to take the red pill.
Right. Have you ever been black pilled?
Yeah, a lot. A lot. Certain events black pill me sometimes. Uh, Anyone that's been following us along, for a while at least, a couple of months ago, I was dealing with. Oh, it was probably only a month ago. I was dealing with some, pretty relatively serious health issues. I was worried, and I just kind of, I lost a lot of drive and a lot of motivation, and I just, it gets to a stage where you didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do the things I was doing, and it started to affect every part of my life.
Yeah. How long were you usually in that black pill phase before you finally started to come out of it, have some more hope, have some more drive, have some more desire to be a part of the solution?
Um, Time frames vary, but what I've noticed in my life, normally a couple of weeks is my time frame for trying to pull myself out of the abyss, which is the black pill. And from that stage, sometimes I just go kind of back to the red pill stage and I continue on. But sometimes that black pill can elevate me into a white pill situation, which is what I've noticed over the last 2 weeks.
Do me a favor, go back to your graphic that you made of all the different pills.
Sure.
There we go. Yeah. So, yeah, and I've noticed that lately, I mean, you're on fire lately. I mean, it's like this negative situation that we're all experiencing together. It's like that has launched you into this white pilled state of mind. And I don't know that a lot of people are actually in that mind frame right now. In fact, I'm just now coming out of out of my black pill phase, but I'm really being becoming a lot more hopeful and optimistic about things.
Mm.
So I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, but I've been just watching you like, wow, you really have been on fire lately. So
Thanks.
I think I think that's a good thing, like taking a negative thing and making something positive out of it, like making it pushing you, launching you to be more driven and more determined. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. You you really have to talk to yourself, and you really have to decide, and you have to look at the situation in itself, and you have to go, okay, some things are out of my hands. There's just some things that I cannot affect, no matter what. So whatever happens, I can't sit there and dread or wait or be afraid of it, because then I'm wasting time. I can only control what I'm doing at this point in time, at this minute, at this second, at this day. And the way that I can contribute is just getting better at what I do.
Right, right. Just handling the things that are within your control.
Hmm.
And I think that that's definitely a good perspective to have because there are a lot of things out of our control. I mean, there are certain things that we can do to affect the the consciousness, the group consciousness that we can do to affect the culture, what we can do to affect the political landscape. There's a lot that we can do that is in our control, but there's a lot of things that are not in our control. And just taking a step back and looking at, okay, these are the things that I can do. And then the rest of it, just letting it go. And for me, that's where my faith comes in. Um, but I don't know if you have anything more to say about your
No,
uh,
go in.
different pill phases. Yeah, so I can
Bring
kind of
it on,
start
man.
from okay. Well, we've talked about this before. I feel like we've talked about our journeys like 100 times, but maybe not in this specific way. So, um, I started my awakening journey about 7 or 8 years ago. And before that, I was just completely blue pilled, kind of like you, where I was very much into, my day-to-day life, very much into um, success and family and work and just the things that normal people are into. And also, I think I was a little bit pink pilled. Is that the one? Yeah, where, where I was just very much into the superficial things and things that projected an image of what I felt like I should look like and be like to others, right? And I was a little too involved with that, a little too obsessed with that. And so when I started my red pill journey, it was really based off of just wanting to research more about my grandfather. And he was a Freemason, and I didn't know anything about Freemasons. I just wanted to know more about him. And just long story short, I didn't really find out much about his association with them, and I don't think there was actually very much. I think he was very low level and not really that involved with it. But I found out a lot about the Masons, and that just launched my journey because once I realized the depths of that secret society and then moved on to then other secret societies and then on to the powerful people that were connected to those secret societies, it just went, on and on and on. And I had this just insatiable appetite because, like we just said, once you take one red pill, it just leads to the next, to the next, to the next. And once you realize that you've been lied to or information has been withheld to you from you about one thing and makes you start questioning what else has been withheld from you, what other lies you've been told and taught and indoctrinated by. And so that was just a years long journey, but I would say I got to the point where I took the whole bottle and I was pretty black pilled for a while, for a long while. And it was very depressing and hopeless for me. And I tried to relate to people. I couldn't. I tried to talk to people, to red pill people. It just really wasn't. Um, they weren't prepared to hear it. They weren't interested in hearing it. And I felt like people thought I was crazy, that I was losing my mind. And it was just a really lonely time and a depressing time. And then once, after Trump won the election, and this community of people started kind of forming and researching and getting information out, I found a group of people that really thought a lot more like me that I could relate to that welcomed me in instead of treating me like I was crazy. And so that actually helped me with my sanity. And I would say I came out of that black pill process and was more and white pilled at that point, just really positive and hopeful. And I was becoming more involved in actually not just taking information in, but then spreading it out. That actually was really cathartic for me. Like it felt really, really good to finally share the information and to help others and to feel like I'm not just a spectator, but I'm a participant in trying to help change the culture, change the psyche the of the masses, and start helping others awaken. Have you found that too? That it's actually really like therapeutic to help others.
Yeah, it does make you feel better.
Yeah, it does. But I have definitely been through other phases of being black pilled, and especially even now, you work o over the years in this whole process, and then things like what we're all going through now, like the DC protest and Trump supporters being labeled now as domestic terrorists. So no, they're making lists and they're kicking us all off of Twitter and just the tyranny that we're facing right now. And you couple that with, say, the inability then um, to communicate well, because when I was kicked off Twitter and then transitioning over to Gab, as we've mentioned, it's just there's a slowness or a lag in the information in the receiving end and the disseminating end too. And just this separation between us. And really, that has been a lot for me of what's helped me to remain kind of emotionally stable through the chaos is whenever I'm still connected and I still feel like I'm able to help or assist in some way. But that was even taken from me too. So kind of got blackpilled a little bit this week, just being so angry and frustrated with that. And had to process all those emotions before I was going to get on the air with you today. Because I'm like, I just don't want to, record right now when I'm frustrated and angry. Um, but definitely feeling a lot better, feeling more hopeful, and actually seeing a lot of potential right now because of this growth of the alt tech, growth in Gab and Minds. And I know you've been talking about that a lot lately on our channel. But I'm just really seeing an amazing potential because so many millions have done this mass exodus. So I see some opportunities for us to grow outside of their system, that their indoctrination, their censorship, their tech tyranny. And so yeah, I definitely say right now I've taken the white pill, and and I can honestly say for anybody who's in various stages of this process that I've been there. So I can relate to each of you, whatever phase you're in.
Yeah, no, good that you've taken the white pill. You're back on it. We
Back on the
need,
white pill.
yeah. I'm telling you, people getting sick of my voice, man. They want some edge.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back. And I think that it's going to be a busy year for us. Whatever happens that's not in our control, we're going to face it. And we're going to face it unafraid and just take it for what it is. And whatever we can do in our control, we're going to do it. We're going to go out and kill it. And all those things that are not in my control, I just have to rely on my faith and trust and that in God. And that has really helped me because I know that. all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called to his purpose. So I'm just going to leave the rest in God's hands and worry about what I can do and just what I can control. And I think that you've had the same or similar sort of mindset. So, and you've definitely been solid as a rock for me. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's okay. I got
So, are we ready to wrap?
you. Yeah, wrap it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us here on Hive Mind. Please be sure to share this podcast and check out all of our other platforms that we're on. We'll leave a link in the description below of our website where you can find all of our alt tech platforms that we're on. So it's good to talk to you again, and we will be back next time. We'll see you back next time right here on Hive Mind.